Okay, so I'm here with a lady from New South Wales by the name of B, and she's got a mother who's had some unusual activity around her place, and you've also got a few other stories, I believe, B.
Yep, sure do.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, so another one. This is going back quite a while. My son's father, well, I'm not still with him, but he told me a long time ago, probably about 20, 30 years ago, he was in the bush with his friend, and they were walking through this small little town, you know, like thick bush and stuff. And anyway, and he said that they swear to God they saw this big black thing jump from one side of the road to another. And I said to him, "Oh my God, what do you think it could be?" And he said it was hairy and it was like a blacky brown. And he said, I swear it was like a yowie. He said, and we've never told anybody because, you know, not wanting to be judged, being in a small town and whatnot.
Sure.
And he said, but seriously, and I've never brought it up with the other fellow, but, yeah, because I just thought, I'll just leave it at that, you know. People sometimes don't like their...
Yeah.
judged all their stories, but yeah, he said he swears to God it was a normal day, the sun was shining, they were just going for a walk, just teenage boys just walking around, and God knows what they were up to.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, that story, that was about, probably about 20 years ago. Then another one, because I watched that thing online with you, I'm trying to think of what his name is, and he lives up at Byron Bay, Mullumbimby, and he was talking about the little hairy people.
Oh, Gary Opit. Gary Opit.
Yeah, like I've just been watching so many of your clips, like once I typed up your name and saw it all and put all the pieces together.
You thought you better get in touch.
Yeah, because I feel like what you're doing is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Like I take my hat off to you, you know, I do, because not many people are looking outside of the square these days, really, are they?
No, and science is a little bit narrow-minded in the way it deals with things like this.
Yes, yes.
They like things to cut up, and they haven't got something to cut up, it didn't happen.
Yep. If they don't have a body on the table.
That's it. And, you know, you speak to anybody who's out there in the country, on the land, farmers...
Yes.
Forestry workers, it doesn't really matter. They're out there all the time. They see things. You're never going to find anything sitting in a laboratory, or you know,
city.
Yeah, or you know, I mean, and it's not necessarily their fault. They probably get about 3 or 4 weeks a year, if they're lucky, out in the field, and the rest of the time they're writing papers. But that's not science. That's academia. You know, they're two very different things.
And you're brought up in a beautiful, lush, thick forest area like this. The things that you see or hear that go bump in the night is just amazing.
So, have you had any personal encounters yourself?
So the Mums has probably been my main area. I actually lived next door to Mum. So when I was younger, about 18, I used to, because I've always been a smoker, I always go outside and have a smoke, and just hearing creepy noises and really just weird noises that aren't sort of...
You can't explain.
Yeah, and like even my brother Johnny, he done the exact same. He was outside one night and he was smoking and he ran inside, and Mum said he was like a ghost, like he was white, and Mum said, "What's wrong, darling?" And he said, "Something's out there, like something really, really big and walking and moving and something full on." And even out at Megan, where my cousins live, it's only they used to live there, about half an hour away. My cousin reckons she's seen a yowie out there as well.
Okay.
And that was within probably the last 5 years, and I've also heard the famous yip noise out there as well, because when you go outside and it's pitch black dark and you're just standing there and you're looking at nothing but thick forests and stuff, you do hear a lot of noises and hear a lot of sounds, you know.
Yep.
And then I was so when me and my friend were having this conversation a couple of weeks ago, he told me a couple of stories, because I said to him, I'm thinking about contacting Neil and telling him about the Thylacine and these other few sightings. And he actually said to me, this fellow only about 2 years ago made a reporting of a white yowie, a big tall white yowie in a paddock around this area as well.
Wow. A white
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, and I was like, are you sure? Like, he said, yeah, him and his girlfriend both swear to God they were in this paddock. They'd pulled up, driven off the side of the road on this dirt track or dirt road, and they're out there. And they swear to God they sat there for a while, like a good 5 minutes, watching this big white thing on two legs.
Far out. So,
I didn't know there was white ones.
well, look, you hear lots of strange things. I try not to discount anybody's story, because you just got to take people on face value. I've probably had about 3 fake sightings reported to me, as far as I'm concerned, the whole time I've been doing this. So, in 7 years and hundreds of sightings being reported to me, that's not a bad average. You know, most people are pretty sincere. And, you know, the way I set the group up on Facebook was so that people didn't have any fear about coming forward with their information. That was the whole idea of it. So they would come forward and they wouldn't get ridiculed, and that way people feel a bit more comfortable. And you just got to take people on face value. So if it was a white one, my only suggestion to that would be it was probably an albino, an albino.
Yeah, okay, yes, that's possible.
So, you know, you get albino kangaroos, albino wallabies. So, you know, what's to say you couldn't get an albino yowie, I guess?
Yep.
But we're talking about a metaphysical creature that no one's technically proved exists. So it's a bit of it's always a strange area to get involved. I mean, I don't generally investigate yowie sightings. I get them, but I don't investigate them because I got enough on my plate just looking at these bloody thylacines, you know. So, but yeah, what else did your friend say? Did he have any other strange encounters?
He said as well, this is probably the same area. Probably about 20, 30 years ago, he's living out on this huge bush, thick area with the trees and everything out in the farmland, and he said his dogs were outside on the lead, and his dogs were going off their head, and he's like, I better go see what they're bloody barking at. And he said the damage that was done to one of these dogs was like a claw mark, like a big, you know how they say that there's panthers in Australia, which I've never seen, but I think if there's enough proof out there, then they probably are here.
Yep.
But he said he swears he saw it. Yeah, he said he saw a big black thing running, and the damage done to his dog's neck, like it was pretty full on. Like he said, it wasn't just a normal wild cat scratching his face sort of thing. It was like a big gash.
Okay. Did the dog have to get put down, or was it all right?
Yeah, it had to get put down.
Yeah, right, okay.
Like it was really bad, yeah. So, and then I even said it to Mum about the whole, the panthers and the yowies, and we don't really know what's out there. And she actually said that the Guy Fawkes area, because this is what this area is called, she said there's actually a lot of sightings with different things.
There is. I've got a couple of thylacine sightings from the Guy Fawkes National Park area. There's a road that goes through it, isn't there?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it was along that road, actually, only 2 years ago or so.
Well, so before you rang me, did you do your research on where Dorrigo is?
No, I didn't, actually. I've heard of it before, and I knew it was in New South Wales. Are you the lady I sent the DVD to the other day?
Yes. Yeah, I'm getting excited and watching it online, but
it's in the post.
I'm going to make Mum watch it with me.
Well, it's in the post. And, you know, one day those DVDs are going to be worth something because we only made 300 of them, and I've only got about 30-odd left, maybe 35 left, so it should become a collector's edition.
Definitely out there. Like, Mum even said, we're originally from, because what got me going as well is when I heard that recording that you done with that woman down in Orange. Mum, we're originally from Bathurst.
Right.
From down that way before we moved up here, and she said her and Dad used to go out hunting, and she said some things that she'd see was... She said she couldn't even explain it. And I was like, what do you mean? She said, well, when you got the light out, because I've never gone shooting, I'm not that sort of person.
Sure.
But she said, like, they used to go and put the headlight on things, and they'd see with the big long grass, they had no idea what it was. I said, well, there you go, Mum. I said, you've probably seen a thylacine yourself, and you didn't even know. Because they used to go shooting for foxes and kangaroos and all sorts of things, you know. And
yep, and you see strange things in the headlights or the spotlights.
yeah, and when you've been been doing it for years, you know, being brought up in the bush and that, you know what you're looking for. Like, some of them recordings as well that I've seen that you've put up on your things, and it's from years ago, you can't explain that. Like, that little thing that looks like a fox but it's not, and it's walking funny and it's got a big long tail. Like, I don't understand why the scientists and stuff aren't taking all this on board, you know what I mean? They're just fobbing it off. And then with that photo that you've got of the baby, I even said to Mum, I said, look at it. It's not a cat, it's not a dog, it's not a fox. Like, there's only so many things that it could be, you know? Like, I believe you 100%. I'm behind you 100%.
Yeah, well, it's a process of elimination, and I was actually not surprised that Nick Mooney said that it was not a thylacine, but I really didn't think he'd go with paddy melon, because paddy melons are it's a rufous wallaby. They got a fat little bum and a narrow, skinny little head, and their head's a lot more narrower than their bottom. And they're clearly a hopping animal. They're not a four-legged animal, but that animal is clearly a four-legged animal, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, you ask an online expert on YouTube and they'll tell you how much of an idiot I am, so, you know.
I know, I've seen a bit. Yeah.
You got to have thick skin to do what I do.
Yeah.
You do, because I cop a fair bit. I mean, I ask for it sometimes because I just say what I believe, and people like to judge, you know.
Ridiculed for who we are. People look at me and my mum and think that we're sort of hippies. But you know what? There's got to be more people out there like us than what we realise, you know.
Well, we're the last of the originals, mate.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. And like all these different things. And another one, my little cousin, right, when this situation, he was only, I think maybe 5 at the time, or 4. He come running inside and he said to his mum, "Oh, the little hairy man's out there," and he was like his little curry boy. He's so beautiful. I won't say any names, but anyway,
that's cool.
He come running inside and my mum, the hairy man, and she freaked out because
she knows.
She knows, but another thing, I don't know what, I don't know if it was the Gumbaynggirr or like the Wiradjuri or what tribe has said this, but you got to be careful with the hairy men because they can take your children.
Yep.
So she freaked out and she went outside and she mowed the lawn and cut all the friggin' bushes back, and she really freaked out because she was like, oh my God, like obviously my 5-year-old son's not lying to me. He come inside and he was really freaked out. Mum, there's a little hairy man out there.
Well, kids are a lot more open to things because they haven't had conditioning of society telling them what doesn't exist, you know?
Exactly. And he would have never seen a photo of anything that looks like a little hairy man before in his life. He's a 5-year-old child, you know?
Yeah, that's it. That's
and
it.
A lot of these stories that I've been researching, it's like they try to make people lose their credibility because they say, oh, it's 3 a.m, they'll probably drunk or on drugs. That's a load of shit as well. When you see something, you know that you've seen something, you know?
Yeah. Well, the best of scientists come out with that derogatory comment, you know, often, and it's just like, well, if that's the best you can do to substantiate your position just by belittling people, then, you know, who's the idiot here? Not the witness, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So
I did do a little bit of research into like your scats and stuff, and I was thinking, where do you send them to? Because some of these scats at Mum's house are crazy.
Well, it's very difficult to actually get these things tested at, to be honest. I had a lot of trouble trying to find a university or a laboratory that could or were interested in doing it. Eventually,
it was Numbat Poo or something?
Yeah, well, what happened was, have you had a look on our website?
Yes, I sure have.
So you've seen the evidence page that I've got there with the giant poo and all the rest of it?
Yep.
So the poos that you said before, there's poos turning up at your mum's.
Yep.
Can you describe what you're seeing there? Have you seen them yourself, or photos?
Yeah,
or?
Yeah, no, I've seen them. I haven't taken I probably should, but
You got to take photos of poo, mate.
Yeah. Some of them, I'm a bit confused because, like I said, we're in such thick bush up here. It's sort of hard to, say what it could be because we get quolls here. Like I said about the panther, I'm more than sure I don't know if you think,
Oh, there's panthers out there for sure.
Yeah, the panthers and, then the wild dogs. And that's what I said to Mum. I was like, it's hard to think that the thylacines could still be alive with all of the other animals that are around. But, I mean, obviously they still are.
Yeah.
But, they're sort of long. Well, they're not too long, but they're sort of, like, that weird colour. How can I explain it? It's not quite grey, it's not quite brown, and it's sort of long.
It's sort of like the colour of paper mache.
Yeah.
That bluey grey.
Yeah, and it's just really weird. Like, it's not sort of like a poo that I've seen before. Like, and
fat?
I've lived in the bush my whole life.
Really fat? And large?
Yeah, sort of. But probably not too fat. Like, a big shit from a wild dog would probably be fatter.
Okay, well, sadly, I need you to photograph these turds for me. And when you do, you need something in there for a scale reference. So even a 20-cent piece will do, or a Bic lighter, anything that I can use as a reference. A box of matches, you know what I mean?
Right.
So then I've got a scale.
More, then I definitely will, all right? I wanted to say as well, because I noticed with your group thing to become a member, about I think it said $150, and it supports you getting cameras and stuff. I want to do that, but I would love to actually get cameras and put up around Mum's property as well, to see, like, if they're coming, because Mum has wallabies. She opens her blind up in her kitchen and she looks out and there's wallabies less than 3 metres from her window.
Okay, so she's got plenty of prey animals around her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where the poos are. They're up right near her window, because she's in a pretty, like, in an area. She's only got like 2 neighbours. One of them's usually always away working or whatnot, and the other one's pretty quiet. So she's in a pretty thick area, and she's closest to the borderline fence where the bush all starts.
Okay. Is there much domestic, sheep, cattle, that sort of thing in the area?
There is cows, and then in the same property a couple k's down the road, because the owner owns quite a fair bit, they've got sheep. And
Okay.
I said to Mum, I wonder if they have problems with the sheep, and she said, well, I think eagles come and take some of the sheep, but that's about it.
Okay. The thing you need to keep an eye out for, the most common bit of evidence of prey that we find is either wallabies or really, any size kangaroo. It doesn't have to be a little kangaroo.
Yep.
But we find kangaroos often with their heads completely missing, and their lungs are usually taken out through the neck cavity.
Really?
Now, sometimes we find them with just their throat chewed out, but there's not a drop of blood anywhere. There's no blood. So the thylacines are known to be blood feeders, as are quolls. If quolls get into your chickens, they'll often bite the heads off and drink all the blood and leave the rest there. And they'll almost sit there drunk on a stupor of gorging themselves on blood, and you can walk in there and the quoll's just sitting there because it's just killed 10 chickens and had a massive feed. That happens a lot in Tassie, because there's still plenty of quolls in Tassie too. But yeah, the headless I've found adult male western grey kangaroos that are 6 feet tall with their heads missing.
Yeah, I've seen some of the photos, and when I said that I've heard the yip noise out at Megan at my cousin's house as well, they have a lot of different sorts of kangaroos there as well.
Okay.
And that's thick bush, like it all sort of leads on, so that the back of that sort of leads on to the back of Mum's. Like, it's a whole, it's really amazing.
It's
It'd be
one
good to go
continuous
and have a look.
continuous
it's
stretch
real
of habitat.
thick bush.
Okay, well look, rather than... Sorry, go on.
And then the research that I seen, I think you said something that they've been known to sort of travel about, like they don't just stay sort of in the one area, like they have like a big radius where they travel, and they might have like a little area, a den or a log or whatever that they live in, and they travel around.
Yes, yeah, they
That
don't
would
stay in
make
one area.
sense.
Yeah.
That would really make a lot of sense, because there's been times when I've been out of my cousin's and it's been like hot weather, so say it's like January, February sort of thing, and I've heard the yips, and then been out at Mum's and it's been winter, and this is like probably a 40-minute drive, but as the crow flies, it's probably only about 20 minutes, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So for that to be that, I've started to put it all together, but to begin with, I just thought maybe it is a sugar glider, but then I googled the noise that they make, and I reckon there's a difference.
Yeah, they're almost like a squeaky toy.
Yes, and the Thylacine's yip is amazing. Like, you think to yourself, what is that? Like, I remember the first few times I used to hear it, even when I was out there living, I used to just think that it was like a fox or something, and I had no idea, or a lyrebird, or I just really had no idea. And then as the years have gone on and I've heard it again and then listened to your recordings, I'm like, that's undeniably a yip from a thylacine. Like, let's tell the truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't mistake it. And then with you just saying there has been sightings, how long ago were them sightings up in the Gulf Forks?
Oh, only within 2.5 years from now. Not that long. I was still living in Adelaide when the guy got in touch with me. It was him and his son on their way to work.
Wow.
And, you know, there's obviously yowie sightings up there as well. But I was up that way only back in May. I made a bit of a mad dash while the COVID crazies had calmed down for a while and the borders were all open. So I did about 10,000 Ks in 5 weeks. I just zipped across Australia and went up through Tamworth and went up that way, up the up to Brisbane.
Just missed the Dorrigo area, did you?
Yeah. I skimmed straight past it. So I was actually going to go through Guy Fawkes, but I went around it instead.
Oh, well, next time you're here, I'd love to show you where my mum lives.
Yeah, it'd be great. Look, if this COVID rubbish goes away and we have some normal open freedom to travel around in, I intend on coming back to the mainland next year. I still want to go across the Nullarbor. I haven't done that yet. That's on the bucket list.
Yeah,
So
that's amazing. That's so amazing. That's so good for me to hear that, like, I'm not crazy, that the noise that I'm hearing is probably, you know, easy. Like, and I said that to Mum. I said, you know what? I said, I really want to contact. That's why I sent you the email the other night. I said, I want to ask him if there has been sightings of thylacines around this area, because it's just beautiful. It's called the Dorrigo Mountains. Sometimes when I'm online and I'm filling in the address to get something sent here, Dorrigo Mountains is one of the addresses that pops up.
Yep.
It's just Dorrigo Mountain Ranges. It's so beautiful up here.
it's part of the Great Divide, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, look, the sightings go up and down the Great Divide from one end to the other.
Yeah,
From Cape York Peninsula all the way down into Victoria where they end. There are sightings right through there.
Yeah.
Some areas are obviously more prone to sightings because of the habitat, because of the game.
Yeah.
But the other area up there, we had a sighting only a couple of months ago from a young lady and her boyfriend. They were driving through in broad daylight. Now, that was closer to Orange, I believe. So that's not too far away from where you are. It's a little bit further west.
Sorry, I didn't hear you when I said yes when I shouldn't have. No, sorry, I'm up near Coffs Harbour.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah.
I know. But yeah, it's all generally, you know, in that kind of central New South Wales mountain area sort of thing, you know.
Yeah, well, that's true.
They're right through there.
Travelling throughout my life because I've still got family in Bathurst.
Yep.
So, you know, once a year or twice a year, whatnot, go down. And it's just beautiful. We go up through Ebor, Tamworth, Gunnedah, and we go all the back way.
Yep.
And it's beautiful. There's big mountains and...
Well, that's the way I went. I went up the Black Stump Highway.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome. So you would have went through the place called, I think it's called Gulgong?
Yes. And I went up through, I think it was Armidale I went through as well to get up to Brisbane.
You just missed us then. We're only about an hour and a half from Armidale.
Yeah, I could have turned off and gone to Coffs Harbour or gone across, and I went across instead. So I went up through the mountains instead, and it was a huge trek that I did, but it was great. I really enjoyed it. My old man was a truckie. I grew up in Adelaide, so we used to take Chrysler Sigmas up to Brisbane, and then we'd bring Geminis and Tiranas back because Holden still had a factory in Acacia Ridge in Brisbane back in those days. So we were transporting cars up and down through New South Wales, Queensland for a long time, a long time. So I got to see a lot of that area. Oh, my dad. The only thing I remember my dad reporting that he saw was Min lights. A Min light is like an Aboriginal story about these balls of light that follow you around.
Oh, yes.
So it's like it's a light with a consciousness, like it's a spirit light or something.
Oh,
but balls of light. So that was the only thing I remember my dad telling me. But he died when I was 21. I'm 53 now, so he's been gone for more than half of my life, you know. So I only remember so much. But he would have probably seen other things.
I did want to say as well, I saw one of the online things, I can't remember if it was Vice or something they'd done on you, and you were talking about losing your daughter as well.
Oh, yeah,
I
yep.
say I'm really sorry about that, and me and my mum have been through quite a bit as well. I've actually lost a sister and a brother, and my heart goes out to you because I know what it's like when you've lost someone.
Yeah, no, that's all right, honey. I'm pretty tough. You know, what doesn't kill you makes you strong. And when you get to rock bottom,
it can go either way.
Yeah, it can. But you either tread water, you sink, or you swim.
Yeah, I think we're treading water, to be quite honest, me and my mum.
Well, that's better than sinking, mate.
Yeah.
And you'll find your way. Either way, you'll find your hope, you'll find your inspiration, and you move on. You just keep plodding along. That's all you can do. And we're all different.
It's hard, but as the years go on, sometimes it gets harder before it gets better. You know what I mean?
Well, grief is a very, very personal thing, and we all do it differently. And that's okay. There's no rules for grieving. No one can tell you how you're meant to honour a past loved one, you know, and that's the beauty of it. In many ways, that's the gift of it. I mean, my daughter was 17 when she died in that car accident, and she was incinerated with her boyfriend in the wreck. Like, it was pretty horrific shit. We couldn't have a viewing or anything. So that at first was very, very difficult. But I saw, only after probably 4 or 5 months, I saw the positive things that were coming out of that horrible thing. And then that ripple effect just went out, you know, for miles and miles and affected hundreds of different people. So that was her gift. I saw it as a gift in the end. And my other daughter, Shana, you know, we now have such a good relationship that she calls me her bestie. So, and she's 22 years old, and, you know, Julia would be 30 if she was still here now, but, you know, she's been gone for 13 years. But I know Shana and I probably wouldn't have had the excellent relationship we've got now if Julia hadn't moved on and passed away, you know. So you got to find the positives in these things, and you got to use them as a, you know, like I said before, when you hit rock bottom, it's solid. There's nothing under you but rock. So you can only go up from there. You can't really go any further than rock bottom. That's as low as it gets. And I don't use that example for any kind of sympathy or oh poor you kind of stuff. I don't roll that way. I use it as a good example for inspiring other people and to just remind myself of the fragility of life and how much it can be over in just a flash. You know, we're all here for a reason.
You know what, that's a really good way to look at it. And I guess, like, Mum, because she gets into, like, Tai Chi, and she's a mad little hippie, gets into Tai Chi and all these women's groups, and they even say to her that what you've gone through and losing two children in different stages of your life, like, you know, you're an inspiration to us all, because there's another woman in the group that, you know, lost a child as well, and Mum talks to these other women and she tries to help them through it. Like, and I even say to Mum, you're so strong, like, with everything that we've gone through and with how broken we are, like, for you to still be going and being tough, like,
well, you got to. You got to. Yeah. You're still here. She's still your mum, you know. She's here for you just as much as she was here for them. And, you know, that's what I had to find with Shana, you know, because me and Shana didn't have a very good relationship for a very long time, and it was only as she got older, once she got to about 15, 16, she started to realise that I wasn't the enemy and that I did love her and care about her, and I wanted to, you know, be a part of her life. So she opened up and let me in, and we've got a good thing going now. So, you know, I just find the best qualities I can in myself and try and share them around. And, you know, I'm not perfect. I'm no angel. I've done plenty of stupid things in my life. But, you know, I don't want to be remembered for all the stupid things I've done, maybe just a few of them, and maybe some of the better things I've done as well, you know. So we're all here to do the best we can.
I had to laugh when I watched that current affair with that man. I can't think of his name.
Oh, Martin King.
Them jeans, and he's like, there's a leech, and he just flicked it off.
It was the smallest leech I've ever seen. It was almost a flea, you know. It was so tiny. They get way bigger than that.
Oh, it made me laugh. Like, I'm not a big fan roaches either. They freak me out. But I mean, when you're in the bush, you sort of just got to roll with it a little bit, you know. But,
Yeah, you got to harden up. You got to harden up. I don't think he gets out of Sydney too often, or Melbourne. I think they're based actually in Melbourne.
See, and this is a lot what you were saying in your things as well. Like a lot of these people that are seeing sightings or hearing noises or seeing these droppings or whatnot, we're all just everyday Joe people.
That's
we're
it.
Not lying. We've got nothing to gain from lying.
That's it.
I just don't think that the government has an open enough mind, if that makes sense.
Well, the government is there to govern, and sadly, what people don't realise is we are the government. They are the elected representatives of the government. So they only become because we create them. You know, without us, they don't have a job, basically.
Yeah.
And they tend to get a little bit lost in their own agendas rather than serving the people. They like to rule over the people. So, but you know, they're all going to get sorted out pretty soon. They'll realise that they're there to serve us and not tell us what to do. So, you know, our freedoms will come back, and I'll get that road trip in on the mainland, and I'll put you on my list of people to visit and meet and go and have a look at some areas with you if you're up for that one day.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. That'd be awesome. And also with these cameras, do you reckon that I should get some and put in Mum's?
In saying that, I'd say it's probably better for you to buy yourself a couple rather than sponsoring one from me, because I honestly just cannot get one up there to you, mate. And, you know, if someone sponsors a camera, then we manage the camera. And, you know, I've got a guy in South Australia, Mark Taylor, who manages about 15 of our cameras now. And he does an excellent job. He's the vice president of To Go. He's a very good friend of mine. And I've only been back in Tassie for 2 years now, so it's all sort of falling into place, really. But I don't have anyone in New South Wales that could help you out, really. So
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
If you do buy a couple, by all means, I can give you whatever pointers you want on how to run them properly and minimise the false triggers and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I had a little bit of a look online last night. I think I've still got the webpage there, and I think there's one that's like $50 and there's one that's like $150. Would you recommend the dearer one? It's probably better quality.
Yeah, the $50 one, unless it's a second-hand one that may or may not work still. I'd just go with the minimum you'd want to spend is about $150.
Yeah.
So, oddly enough, Audi put out trail cameras every now and then, and they have them. You know, they might have 10 in each store, and they're about $125 each. And I've still got a couple that work brilliantly. They're not too bad, the Audi ones.
Is there an Audi down there in Tasmania?
No, there's not in Tassie, but there was in Adelaide. I scored a few while I was in Adelaide still.
Wow. So do you plan on living down there permanently? Or?
I don't really know what the plan is at the moment. I gave myself 2 years on this, and I've gone over 2 years now by a couple of months. So I'm just going to wing it. I've got sponsored cameras that run out of sponsorship in October next year. And I've got a few things on the go at home at the moment, doing a few jobs around the place and doing a bit of renovating and stuff. So I'm going to weigh it up. But if everything starts to get a little bit normal and the dictators get out of the way and we can just have some normal freedom in our country again, I do plan on doing a road trip around Australia or, you know, part thereof next year. So
you've got a lodge or something, do you?
Yeah, it's called Tassie Tiger Lodge. It's I set it up as a holiday house a few years back and got it all approved by the council and stuff. And I don't make a lot of money out of it. It's more of a novelty than anything. But I get a few guests. People come out my way, Foskin a fair bit. There's a lot of gemstones out my way.
I'd love to go bush bashing with you in your Subi and go and have a little sticky beak around. Like I was only saying to Mum, because before all this bloody nonsense happened, we'd only just gotten our passports at like the end of 2019, and we were wanting to travel, like because we'd only lost Sonia, my sister, in 2018, and Mum sold the house and we got a bit of money and. Mum said, it'd be good, and I said to Mum, well, I definitely want to go to maybe New Zealand, or I want to travel Australia a little bit, and Hobart's definitely on the list.
By all means, if you come down to Tassie, come out and stay for a couple of days, bring your mum out, and I'll show you around. It's no problem.
I'd love that. And my little boy, I've got a little 6-year-old boy, William.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll love it. Look, if you're into outdoors stuff, fishing, motorbikes, bushwalking, fosking, whatever, Tassie's awesome for it. It really is. There's a lot of wilderness down here still. There's not a lot of bureaucracy when it comes to playing around in that wilderness. You can pretty well just go and camp anywhere and no one really bothers you. So
Yeah, that's mad. And to get from like New South Wales to Tasmania or from Tasmania to here, do you have to be fully vaxxed to be able to travel?
at the moment you do, but I think all of their bullshit vaccination crap is going to fall away pretty soon. So just hold off.
Okay.
Hold off. I'm not anti-vax, but I'm certainly not anti-dictated to by some idiot public servant.
I thought that you probably weren't vaxxed, so you probably
No.
wouldn't be able to... Yeah,
I could probably leave Tassie, but they wouldn't want to let me back in. But, you know, I own property here. They'd be hard-pressed to stop me. But, yeah, hold off a little bit and see what the bullshit fades away over the next month or two. And then if you want to come down for a holiday, I recommend it. It's worth it.
Oh, that'd be lovely. That'd be so
But
lovely.
you definitely need a couple of weeks in Tassie. It's a big island. It's not as big as the Big Island, but it's still a big island. There's a lot to see.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, look, hopefully that DVD should get to you in the next few days. I posted it on Thursday, I think it was. So all things said and done, it should be with you by the end of the week. If you've got any more questions or you've got any other information, by all means, give us a ring or flick me another email or something. My email's at the end of every one of our videos if you want to personally email me rather than the website.
There too. I didn't know whether to text you or...
No, that's all good. It's there for people to contact me. I get the odd Indian trying to sell me some sort of insurance plan, but generally I don't get harassed by it too much. It's pretty good.
Exactly.
But yeah, by all means, get in touch and let me know if you do find anything else. Get a photo.
Yeah, I definitely will, love. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, look, you have a great day. Thanks a lot for your time. I appreciate your information. It's good stuff.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All the best.
Bye.
Ta-da.